Zealous den, we here again. Faithful to the end, yeah, let's begin. Zealous den got that holy fire. Channel of light, take you higher. Always faithful to the church, no liar. Word of God strong, never tire. Zealots den, zealot them up. Faith and truth, we fill your cup. In the word, never interrupt. Stay with us and lift it up. Catholic roots deep in the ground. Every video, gospel sound. Light in the dark, we're in renown. We're zealous, then your faith is crowned. Zealots den, zealot them up. Faith and truth, we fill your cup. In the word, never interrupt. Stay with us and lift it up. Zealous den, never.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Zealous Den. Tonight with us, we got John Farrell from Annulment Proof. He's got a great little YouTube channel I came across, so do go check him out, subscribe, and show him some support. So welcome, John, to the Zealous Den. Thanks for your time.
Well, my goodness gracious. I'm just going to call you Zealous D because your little vanilla ice groove got me going. It's cool. Did you make that all by yourself?
One of my subscribers did. Another zealot in the den. He kind of liked what I had going on. He said, "Let me make him a little theme." So he made the song, and then a zealot. So around here, the boys are zealots and the girl are zealots.
Sure.
And she made the little video for me. So it's a cool little, like, we got some love.
I see a little pronoun confusion coming ahead. Yeah, that's hilarious, man.
Oh no, that's how we keep the confusion away.
I know.
We have women,
and that is funny. But now when everything's fluid, you know what I'm saying? I got more to say about that. At any rate, you asked me if I have a time limit. Well, you're going to have to shut me down because it might go 3 hours, and that's going to be too much. But
amazing.
At any rate, so you're not married yet.
No.
Dave, how old are you?
Late 30s, 38, almost 38.
All right, so you're ripe, and your mom's asking you questions, right? What's going on?
Yeah. Where's my grandbabies?
Okay, so have you ever proposed to anyone?
I was engaged at one point, yes.
Oh, okay. So I'm
not that ugly, am I, John? Come on,
dude. It's fine. I'm saying the marriage gig out there is tough, and there's a lot of the men got problems, the women got problems, so everyone's in their own corner with their arms folded is the problem.
Yep.
There's a lot of that.
Yep.
So I thought of something. Someone said to me, how would you propose? You know, what kind of proposal would there be? Because when you just hey, cat cans. So I would say that the proposal should be, will you accept my, I would say, instead of just asking someone to marry you, how about would you sign my contract? Will you sign my marriage contract? Because now that's
what it's become. Yeah, I couldn't.
No, it hasn't become. And you're right. It does have to get down to that. It's kind of like, hey, can I borrow $5? Well, nowadays $5 has no definition. So you can't just say, can you lend me $5? Because or I'll pay you back within a week. No one knows what that means anymore. So you do have to say, I have to specify. I've got like this little, well, yeah, you took it out. All right, cool. Anyway, that's what I was going to say. So right quick, my dad, when he proposed to my mom, he says, I'm asking you to marry me, but before you answer, realize that you're not going to work and you're going to have 10 kids. Is that a deal? So she said yes. And another guy I know, Dr. Dillsaver, who's a psychologist, he said, he proposed to his wife, but he said, just know that the answer you give will be the last time you ever have final say. Which is a good line, but maybe I think it's really good for people to talk about the marriage contract, to talk about the terms, because if you can't agree on what $5 is and what pay me back in a month is, you can't make a deal. It's not a covenant of $5. It's a contract. We need to talk norm. So I'm going to try to help you out a little bit because there's all these there's a lot of girls, Catholic girls, that want to get married, but they can't find anybody. You've heard that before, and all
And
that sort of
vice versa. And vice versa.
Okay, so I think the gap, I think what we need is, it's sort of like if one speaks a different language, you can't bring it together. So we got to all unite. It's like marriage is two people uniting on one idea, one contract, one thing. So
Two become one. Yep.
well, they become one flesh, but that's a deceptive thing, as in two people have to find this soulmate groove thing. It's the language has all been co-opted, just like in the pro-abortion movement, you know, all these words like bond, unity, one flesh, covenant, good of the spouses, all these terms have been co-opted so they don't mean anything anymore, or they mean the wrong stuff. So this is why I say you propose and you say, would you like to enter? Would you like to sign my marriage contract? Then they'll say, because usually at that point, she's all excited. She's a captive audience. She wants to say, she's like, heck yeah. Okay, let's find out what it is. What does the Catholic Church teach about what marriage is? It's permanence. You know, it's for life, till death do us part. Exclusivity, right? One person together, exclusivity, and then procreation. So the acts must be oriented towards procreation, which means all family planning is out. All family planning is immoral. There's no such thing as natural family planning. That's like saying natural suicide. There's no.
So if a Catholic's trying to use NFP, they're really just being a naughty fertility pervert. That was one of the funniest
you got
things
it.
I've ever seen.
There's I think there's no less than 5 dozen acronyms for NFP, and I just keep coming up with more of them.
Nice.
Yeah. So because it is a perversion of order, but nowadays the new order is love wins. You know, so you've heard the phrase "love wins." What does love win, David? What is that? What do you think? That means?
No, you're preaching to the choir. I'm with you on this new.
Nobody's with me. No, wait. Nobody's with me. Are you kidding me? I thought that I was the only person on the planet who talks about what marriage is legally. But it sounds like you were picking up what I was laying down. Now, are you a Latin Mass guy?
I don't solely go to Latin Mass, but yes.
And you go to Novus Ordo too?
Yes.
Okay, same here. So today I was at Novus Ordo. I even took a video just for fun. It was because it was the school mass, you know, and they were somehow or another.
When the girls sing at the end, they give you like an Ave Maria or something.
No. This was a little Disney disco.
Oh,
because where I was, and it was just there was road construction, so I went to the other church. Anyway, I was just like, okay, this is brutal. I had earplugs, I had ear muffs from my chainsaw, kept my eyes closed. I look at my Magnificat. Jesus is there. It's a sacrifice to the mass. I'm there. And I was, even still, it was tough. It was tough, but that's what I did. So I can bulletproof myself to any Novus Ordo pretty much. So nice. I don't care. I got too many stories to tell, and I'm going to talk too much. I have to be careful. But back to let's wrap up the marriage proposition thing as our intro. That yes. So openness to life is a Protestant phrase. It's not a Catholic phrase. It's not a legal phrase. It's just a slogan. You must be oriented toward life. But with NFP, you are oriented toward nothing. You're just, quote, open. You have to be oriented toward procreation. Otherwise, you just flick the switch. One day we're shooting for life. The other day we're shooting for, call it whatever you want. Unity, bonding, flesh, horse and mule, whatever you want. So we could have nature over here, or we could have nature over here. Just like you want to be a girl one day and you want to be a boy the other day. Whatever you think. Apparently, I can't.
Don't mind the comments. I just put them up for the people watching.
That's fine. That's fine. Like so yeah, that's good. Because if you don't put up the comments, they just pile up. So now then, we need
one thing. If I don't want to sidetrack you there, but with the proposal of marriage, I like the 2 examples you gave of you're not going to work.
Versus my dad.
Yeah, I'm with those guys. The only pushback I would give you, like guys these days, because society's totally different. So if you have women with college degrees who are making more than your average guys because of the way society's set up, and women are more interested in like financial status and men aren't, that kind of sways
Okay.
the equation. No,
You're going to blow out all the wannabes, all the non-true believers. People who want marriage want
I
marriage.
like that. That's great. Thank you for that. That gives me more hope because I'm like all these girls who want material things. What about like spiritual things, like a good father, a good husband? Yeah.
They use the M word, marriage. Okay, so today you have to take the law into your own hands. You have to, in other words, you have to define marriage because your bishop will not do it. Cardinal Burke won't define it. You ask them to. The answer is, I'm sorry, this conversation is over because it's so much politics. Crazy politics. All those annulments are fake. They're all error, like the vast majority of them. Sophia, that's my daughter-in-law, my newest daughter-in-law.
Oh, welcome, daughter-in-law,
Yeah,
Sophia.
I just went to there was a wedding like in Olympia recently. So anyway, so these guys, they between all the NFP and the Love Wins and the Open to Life, and marriage is a twofold purpose, Humanae Vitae. You've built a whole structure on all of this. And now you can't go back. You want to talk about your name is mud? It's like, I don't know. It's like they had a hard time admitting that COVID shots weren't good. How would you like to admit that all the basis of all these annulments and NFP was wrong? You can't do it. So someone like you and me are got to come on the internet and say it, and then I can bring the receipts. By the way, another thing I wanted to say, I've already said it before other places. I always back up everything I say in the comment section. A lot of people will go on YouTube or they'll say things, but they're like disappear. They'll say stuff and you're like, hey, buddy, you said this, and they just don't respond, or then they block you. And I was commenting on people's YouTube channels for years, not realizing, because I was born in '66. I'm not a boomer, but I'm edgy. Not realizing that I was not even being paid attention to that. And then I tried to do some clips and I'm like, oh, wait, no. Now I'm like, whoa, I better just shut up. So anyhow, then to finish off this marriage proposition idea, it's a great way to just get the ball moving. And at least now you're getting everything on the table up front instead of, it's like, hey, let's take a road trip together. And then halfway across the state, you're like, you didn't know we're going to Nova Scotia,
right?
Like, no, I didn't know. No, we're going tonight, and we're not stopping. You're like, wait a minute, I didn't know. Oh, really? You didn't know that? Well, let's look at the catechism. It says it right. Wait a minute. What is the catechism? Okay, so we got to get it all nailed down first while she's a captive audience. Now you're a guy, so you got the right brain, left brain. You can think logically. Okay, put your emotions aside. Okay, and we'll get down what marriage is, then we'll say yes or no to it. And again, while she's a captive audience, she'll say once you say yes to what it is, that's a reasonable risk. If she's God-fearing, she knows that hell is real and doesn't want to go there, among other things, okay? And she knows that she will go there if she violates the contract. Now you got something, okay? There's no guarantee that someone won't shoot you.
What's the proposal? What is?
I have to figure out the exact word to try to make it not sound quite so robotic, stupid nerd. But like, how'd you like to sign my marriage contract? And she'll go, what? It's like, yeah, and this is what the church teaches the marriage contract is, okay? And most people around now have understood that you can't just keep saying covenant all the time, you know. If they're so hooked on Father Mike Schmitz that they can't get it, they might not be able to groove on this. So you're setting yourself up for major failure, for a big problem. You're setting yourself up for two people moving against each other. All right. Because you have procreation is nature and flesh is nature, unity, whatever bonding is nature. And so I have a right to the bonding and I have a right to the procreation. Oh, really? Which one are we going to have? Well, we'll have to just love our way through. No.
No. You owe me
$5 on the 30th. No matter how any of us feel, that's what's got to happen. We agreed to that. Okay, we can be nice.
Now, can I ask? Is the $5 sex?
No. Well,
okay.
It's just a way. It's just a way of illustrating the contract, so to speak. Yeah. Now,
Oh, there's
so
no bartering after. You both know what the
correct.
contract is, and it's not like, oh well, I don't have it. I'll pay you $5. I'll pay you double next month or
You
whatever.
listen to a little Timothy Gordon, a little bit of Rules for
No,
Retrograde.
no.
You know who he is, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I like him. He's the best out there as far as feminism goes and talking about the women's place in the home and all that. He's the best. However,
Who,
he's
Tim?
a feminist.
Tim Gordon?
Yes. However, he's a feminist himself because he insists that the conjugal act must be unitive. He says the conjugal act must be unitive. I think you misspelled annulment proof. It's easy to do.
Yep.
On your thing.
Hopefully
No
they
problem.
find you.
That's cool. So anyway, because he says, yeah, he'll say, well, as long as it's procreative and unitive, and I don't really want to talk about what unitive means right now. You'll have to look that up. Yeah, it doesn't mean anything. It's just a secondary end. So that the marriage proposition would be, I'd like to get married. Would you like to sign my marriage contract? Would you like to sign a marriage contract? Not mine, because it's not mine, it's God's. God made marriage through the church. Would you like to sign a marriage contract? And the marriage contract. It's not my contract. Okay, there's no personal nothing. It's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, okay, then she has a right to stay home with the kids because that is her role, is to raise the kids. Therefore, you have to work, and that's like the sin of Adam and Eve, right? She shall be saved through childbearing in Genesis, but it's the sweat of his brow because they both blew it. So she's got to have a bunch of kids and he's got to work. It's so simple. If you just do basic marriage, everything falls into place. Everyone stays married till they're dead or stays together, and everyone has a bunch of kids like it was always for 2,000 years. Then the industrialization, and then Margaret Sanger put the pressure on Pius XII. Then the NFP started, and then marriage legal basis went to worse than Jell-O. And now everything is floating in space, and no one can get married because no one wants to step in to the ring because you have no idea what is allowed. Maybe there's a trap door. Maybe there's a piano in the roof that's going to fall on you, or maybe the ref is working for her. You can't tell. She may have a big knife and she can use it if she wants because that's love and to her. See what I'm saying? So like, screw that. I am not getting in the ring. That's a ton of guys are saying that. A lot. MGTOW, go on YouTube, whatever you do, don't get married, etc. And then you have Michael Knowles and the other guys from Daily Wire and everybody else. Whoever the guy from Catholic Answers is, his wife just had brain cancer. Tiffany Horn. Is it Tim Horn? What's his name? Is that his name? Trent Horn. Saying just get married anyway. It's a good. There is some truth to that, but you want to, like I said, get married and define it up front with the church. This means we have to turn back the clock before 1950 to just get that thing, because everything, all the new language, like I said, what is the legal definition of unity, David? You probably couldn't tell me that right now.
No, off the top of my head, no.
But marriage is unitive. Is it marriage unitive? Isn't it a bond, David? It's
oh
a bond,
yeah,
right?
everyone knows that.
It's a bond. All right, what is a marriage bond? What is the legal definition of the marriage bond?
Legally, I don't know. I'd say
you're like a normal guy. See, David, we could cut you to ribbons. The tribunal is back there with their knives salivating on how they're going to slit your throat and turn all your kids homo. Because
well, at the end of the day, if you're a man and you have these convictions, you can just find a humble, submissive Catholic woman, and you don't have to worry about tribunals and all that, right?
That line, all girlfriends are different and all wives are the same. So women, one way or another, at some point, they're not guys, so they don't always think, they feel. And they feel things strongly.
Oh yeah, there's no denying that. Yeah,
and they test the husband to see if he's tough or not, and if he's been sucking down lots of mutual submission information and thinking that's the way to be a servant leader, lay down his life, which means happy wife, happy life, and all this weird stuff. Then he does that, which is like super 90s JP2. then she doesn't respect him because he's not standing up to her. In other words, Adam should have told Eve what time it was instead of going, yes, dear. All right. And so you just have these, this becomes the problem. And this is why we need to, again, define that contract right up front, because the wife will want to blow out of the, I lost my train of thought of what you were saying in the beginning, why I brought that up.
Well, it was the marriage. You were finishing the marriage contract.
Right. But I mean, what happens is the wife will push back on it, and she'll say, even your super nice, normal soup, you got like she's got the denim skirt. She has 15 brothers and sisters. They've been going to Latin mass since she was born. You know, they make rosaries at home and they don't have a TV. Okay. And they role play Little House on the Prairie in the backyard and all that. Okay.
Yep.
That's a real safe bet. However, at some point, she's going to say, I don't think this is unitive. I don't think this marital debt you talk about is unitive. And the conjugal act must be procreative and unitive, because Timothy Gordon, the biggest jerk face, patriarchal, tough guy Catholic in the world, is saying it has to be unitive. And I don't feel like this is unitive for me. And so it's not a good time for the marital debt, because I'm starting to like John Paul II. In other words, people change, or people start looking for a way out. You ever not wanted to go to work in the morning, David?
Oh no, yeah, I'm with you.
All right, so if you didn't want to go to work, but you did anyway, you were lying with your body. You didn't speak the truth of your body, the theology of your financial situation. In other words, you were lying because you went to work, but your heart wasn't into it. You need to consent. You need to feel it.
That's life, brother. That's life.
You need to fully. You have to work in a human manner, not just for a paycheck. It's not just going through the motions. You have to, your whole person, as Christopher West would say, your whole body person must be completely enmeshed in this work, or it's just lying with your body. So it's the same thing. She'll start going, she very well may be going, I'm not feeling it. And I have a right to, this is where the right to be happy comes from. You hear all these divorced people saying, you have the right to be happy. No, you don't. However, after Vatican II, in practice, you do, because marriage is now a love contract, love covenant, Guardian 48, love compact. Therefore, nature is now love, which doesn't make any sense. It's not true. You can't put charity and call it nature. Okay, that yucca plant over there has charity in it. No, it does not. None. Neither does a zebra. Neither does a person. People can act with charity, but that's not natural. It's just they have, a body and a mind and a brain, but charity is supernatural. It's not. So they've taken the broad definition of marriage. Marriage is a lot of things. It's a white picket fence. It's back rubs. It's saying I love you. It's doing a lot of things. Okay. As well as having kids and staying together till death. But marriage encompasses a lot of things in the broad sense. A lot. In fact, the list of things that marriage is involved in is basically infinite. If you want to, we're going to Oklahoma together and I took care of your sick mom and all this, whatever. It includes a lot of stuff because we're married. We just do this. But the legal, AKA restricted definition of your marriage proposal contract that I talked about in the beginning is not everything, because you cannot consent to everything, nor do you have the capacity to prove I can do everything. I can do absolutely everything. No, you can't. You may or may not be able to. We don't know. Okay. So marriage is babies, permanence, exclusivity. Three things. The three goods, Augustinian three goods. Now, when you make marriage everything, you have four goods, and the fourth good is everything else. The fourth good is called good of the spouses. So we're calling, because marriage is an office of nature. Finite, unchanging, office of nature. So when you add good into the office of nature, now nature is good. And if I want to be Bruce Jenner or Caitlyn Jenner, I see that as good, and that's nature. So who are you to judge, etc. Now, this is why I'm saying that the what happened to this is why marriage got liquefied at Vatican II. None of it was binding, but they took it anyway. Yeah, that's a great line there about the human heart. You start putting the human heart in the contract. I talked to some guys from Kyrgyzstan the other day, and they said it's like putting a woman in charge, her emotions in charge, is like giving a monkey a gun. You got to be careful with this stuff. Now, guys can make mistakes too, but typically the wife is 80%. She files for divorce because she's a girl.
My feelings, because my feelings.
Dude, no. Hell hath no fury like a man scorned. Nobody ever said that. No, it's in the Bible too. The Bible in the Old Testament says, you're messing with a girl, careful. You've unleashed what?
So did you want to go on to the next one, or did you want to unpack kind of, you're talking about Vatican II and stuff? So
yeah, we can do, like I said, we're gonna talk way too much because you have some things in your brain because I'm talking too much. So you tell me if I could ask you to define.
So I was raised by an older guy, older than most people my age. So I grew up in like a very European old school way. So kind of the 3 Augustinian goods, I didn't even know that was a concept, but that's pretty much how I was raised to understand marriage. So I'm with you. Forget the heart, forget all this extra lovey mumbo jumbo. I'm very practical, Catholic, down to earth. That's how I was taught and raised. So how do we, men or women, find proper spouses and have a proper marriage without society or these new Vatican II
what I'm
teachings
here to
and
tell
stuff?
you right now, and nobody else is going to tell you this. This is why
that's why I brought you on here,
dude,
John.
Here's the silver bullet. This is it. You have to just define marriage. So you got to put yourself in the way of these people. So you go to daily mass and you go to places or do things where these people are. That's what you do, like pro-life picketing and whatever. You may find one out the back of Midas Mufflers by the dumpster, but it's unlikely. Chances are you might find me back there looking for tires, but that's about it.
What are you saying? That's where the good wives would be at, like a picket, pro-life picketing.
There's that. There's other ideas. Yeah. You know, if you go to conferences,
that's actually a really good idea. I didn't even think of that.
But you know what? My son down in California, he's in the market. I think he's 23. He goes to this. We went to this super dive bar. It's called Enox in Glendale, Arizona. I couldn't believe it. It was like the lowest strata of Walmart people that eat processed food and get tattoos, and their clothes are too small. And it was karaoke night, and he was there. So you never know. You never know where you'll find him. But typically, if you go to daily mass, there's your pickings right there. Generally,
well, then let me ask you another question. So I've come across attractive women or potential spouses at church, but I can't help but notice, when do you interact with them? They're praying to God. I don't want to be like, excuse me, I know you're talking to God, but I'm David. Nice to meet you.
After church. Yeah, after church, you come up with an excuse to go talk to him, and you know, and you got to. So similarly, like in sales, and so you could just go right up to him and say, is marriage a contract or a covenant? And she'll stop and she'll say, what? Say, yeah, I was just asking you that. What do you think? Because I've been hearing both things.
That's a good pickup line. That's a good pickup line, John.
I had
straight to the point. Marriage. What is it?
My brain will think. I had another pickup line too. But you could just anything, because all these girls are thinking marriage since they were 10. All right. They're all thinking it. They got their hope. And most guys are like, whatever, video games. For me, it was beer and punk rock. Number one. Then, you know, and my wife kind of like, she was the one who basically, because I knew I was like 26 when I met her. So I was like, time to get married. But she basically was the driving force. She was kind of like, yeah, I'm way ahead of you, bro. And you, yeah, come up with some good, you can come up with anything. There's a lot of good ones. Hey, can you help me fix my rosary? You know, something. But or you could, you know, you could talk about the magnificent.
What's your thoughts on veiled women? Do you think it's important for a woman to veil to properly view or understand marriage?
You know
they
what?
Kind of go hand in hand, yeah.
My wife didn't even wear a veil at our wedding, and I didn't even think about it. I didn't even know what it was.
Mr. Farrell. No, just kidding.
No, there's no veil. I was like, I didn't even know. But so yeah, veil is good. But nowadays, there can be perfectly good prospects who don't veil because they don't know or they're
Agreed,
not
yeah.
thinking.
Yep.
It's just this. We're in Catholic wasteland. The 70s, where I'm from, were like nuts, super
I've heard
crazy.
stories. The clown
I'm from
churches
Ann Arbor.
and
From Ann Arbor, buddy. I was at a church when I was like 11. I went to the guy next to me. I'm like, was this a Catholic church? I asked him. It was. And it just is the same thing with a daily mass today with the kiddies, the Disney bongo thing, follow all this like is Disney soundtrack. So anyway, give people a break. They don't, and they're doing Father Mike Schmidt's Bible in a year, and they go with the catechism, and so there's so much confusion out there, which is why I want to do my channel, like I said. But I always tell people I'm the easiest guy in the world to reach. You want my phone number? You want my social security number? Fine. Call me whenever. Email me whenever. Put a comment whenever. I'll answer any question you have. I'll answer 15 questions that you have. No sweat. So I can, if you're thinking about it, you're like, what did this guy say? No problem. So we can get to the bottom of it. So you use your pickup line. You're like, is marriage a contract or a covenant? And she immediately knows you're serious and you're thinking, and she's thinking about it because she doesn't want to mess around. All right. So so you immediately get
I can't get anything past you, John.
Hey, you want my social? What are you going to do with it? Have fun. You can impersonate me. There's a lot of money in that one. Oh yeah. Because I've been a little off the grid, you might say, for a bit. I'm not that I cheat or anything, but I have a side hustle kind of deal, a little bit like that. Anyway, so you would want to, if you get things going, then you talk and see, usually I think the women know in about 10 seconds whether you're it or not. That's give or take. It's between 8 and 11 seconds. They know. Okay. And then you take their lead from there, whatever. But then you get through that contract or covenants question, because covenant is just a covenant is a word used to define marriage, created by, whichever Protestant was from Zurich. I forgot, one of the first 5 Protestants.
Now, is that? Could you explain that? Because I was under
because
that
they call
impression.
they'll call it a covenant, because if it's a contract, you must have a law behind backing it up. You've got to have some way of enforcing your contract. Like small claims court, you have a judge and a courtroom and law. Okay, so marriage contract means we need to be able to say, hey, look, so and so is not make the marital debt, or they're not honoring permanence, or they're not honoring exclusivity. You take them to court. It's called Canon Law 221 right now. You take them to court and you say, I have my rights. But what was the name of that Protestant? I can't believe it. That guy, everyone knows who it is. He was the first one to call it a covenant, because once you fire the church, you ain't got no law no more. And all these guys are like, okay, we're going to call it. That's why Martin Luther gave everything to the state. And then we're going to call it a marriage covenant, which means God is our judge. So all these kind of like God decides what the Bible means, not the Pope.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
God
I see what you're saying.
God takes care of my contract. So
yeah, well, the only problem with that, because he does ultimately, but they're putting it into their personal subjective opinion of what God's saying,
right,
not what
right.
Holy Mother Church says.
You keep talking. You're just like a legalistic Pharisee saying, I owe you $5 on the 30th of the month. But God's bigger than the law, and God said, love is the law. So my mom said that I don't need to pay you that $5 because you're not being loving about this, and marriage is love and God is love. Any questions? I didn't think so.
Yeah, that's a mess. Now you're in a mess, huh?
And you have a bunch of little kids, and they're all trying to figure this out. And now you need to uphold your end of the bargain while she is kicking the legs out from under the foundation. Have a nice life. You'll be fine. Don't stroke out, okay?
Yeah, so what I was going to say, so then the backstop would be the church. So now what is wrong with you said the politics get in the way?
So what's wrong is you have the perfect storm of, we have overpopulation scares in the 20th century. You've got, not Zwingli, sorry. It's brother. It's the same guy from I'll think of it. I know I'll think of it. I'll think of the Protestant guy. Anyway, so
tomorrow when you just
no,
in the middle
it'll
of
come to me in a minute. The what happened was everyone wanted their contraception, and then you had the rhythm method gaining popularity all over the place, and the various Catholics were running around with this rhythm method because it's a tricky thing. It can be used as an alternative to onanism. It's still a sin, but it's a lesser sin than
Onanism? That sounds like a heresy.
onanism is what Onan did, right?
Okay, yeah.
Remember him?
On the
He kind of
floor?
got zapped real hard.
Yeah.
Okay. Because he inverted the hierarchy of ends. He was pursuing something other than procreation. He was pursuing love. He was just following humanae vitae. Onan, that's all he was doing. He's like, I'm going to work on my love today, not on my procreation. And I'm just going to find a natural way to do that. So now you have all this pressure from Margaret Sanger, who's out there going nuts. Then you have the Protestants who turned increase and multiply into a duty instead of nature. And then you have all these Catholics running around figuring out the fact that they can do Planned Parenthood, aka the rhythm method, and it's all natural, and it's not really. Casti Kanubi doesn't come out and give you like the idiot proof blue collar explanation. He uses more high sounding language to condemn overturning the hierarchy of ends. This is when everyone used to get it. But now when people want their NFP, they'll come up with any reason they possibly can to read through the lines. So now you have Pius XII, 1951. He's feeling all this pressure. The world's going to be overpopulated. Everyone gets their contraception. Why can't we? What do? We say that marriage is the increase and multiply is a duty. Therefore, it's a precept. Therefore, it's based in justice, like going to mass. You got to produce kids. That's what no. That's because in the New Testament, if celibacy is a higher calling, no one has to produce kids anymore. It's just nature.
The New Testament, right? The New Testament.
Yeah. St. Thomas Aquinas will say it's no longer a binding precept. So NFP is based on the fact that you have to call it a precept because we have to have kids. Therefore, we can have an exception. Just like you don't have to go to mass if you're sick. You don't have to switch your nature to baby making. You can switch it to horse and mule, over which the devil hath power, if you're feeling like you have a grave cause. 1951, midwives, Italian midwives is the speech. He got there, Pius XII. So he goes,
our baby's just sticking up for you. Someone
okay, cool. That's all right. Hey, man, whatever. It's fine. Just so 1951 for the Pius XII was really good up to that point, and he was saying primary purpose is independent. That means it exists in the essence. The essence is perfected in marriage with the primary purpose, procreation. You do not need anything else. None of this twofold, inseparable things. By the way, humanae vitae, they call it inseparable significances. Okay. Significance is not nature. It's not law. It's not a purpose. It's a significance. Mm-hmm. Like your flag in the background. That is not
but it has significance.
It sure does. But your flag is not the United States of America, but it's a sign of it. But it's not the United States. Okay. So if I burn the flag, I'm not literally burning the country down, but I'm burning the significance. So I'm attacking the country. I'm attacking the significance,
the symbolism.
So they're using the significance as nature now. They're using the wider sense as the restricted sense. 1951 comes around and he goes, okay, procreation is primary, marriage is nature. But you got to have kids, so there can be an exception. So therefore, if you're having a really hard time, we'll let you do NFP. So just like humanae vitae is a complete contradiction of its own words. Humanae vitae says NFP is evil and NFP is evil and NFP is good. Humanae vitae is schizophrenic. Pius XII was the first to be that way. Totally contradicts himself in the 1951 statement, which I've done videos about and I've parsed it a zillion times and I have all the notes on it. So that was before the internet. Everyone pays, prays, and obeys. Everyone wants their NFP. The Pope says, in just like they all do with new laws, only in very, 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 very extreme circumstances. Otherwise, you're violating nature. Doesn't make any sense. Nature is all or nothing. Nature is absolute. There is no sort of nature. Like you're only 98% human today. It's all or nothing. So they said, well, for very certain circumstances, you can go ahead and use your conjugal act to not produce babies, and we're going to call that natural. So they didn't even get into nature. They just talked about it's justice, okay? So now marriage has been taken away from nature. It's no longer an office of nature if you legalize NFP. It's an office of justice and love, emotion.
Well, that's interesting because I went to an adult faith formation class and the priest was teaching how marriage is one of the natural sacraments that already Jesus didn't institute. It was already marriage already had been. It just carried over to the New Testament.
Correct. He's right about that. Yeah.
Well, that was he was agreeing with you. That's what I'm saying. That's interesting because it is not like that just fit into exactly what you were saying.
So you can't mess with the Catholic Church and get it right. In other words, all the Legos must lock together perfectly or it doesn't work. So when you start saying marriage is love, you are taking the entire structure and moving it 1/8 of an inch off the foundation. And it looks good, but it's no longer Catholic. NFP is not Catholic. Good of the spouses as the essence of marriage and the contract is not Catholic, but everyone says it is, and your bishop does. They've been trained this way. The politics are heavier than anything else. Anything else. You want to die an instant death, start saying the annulments are invalid and you can't have your NFP. If you're a cleric or a bishop, you're going to get whisked away in a black limousine and never seen again so fast, you won't even think about it. You'll be gone that night. Gone. Bye. No more from you. There's way too much writing on this. So with me, they, like it said in Pascendi, the encyclical, they'll put a window. They will get rid of. They'll silence you. They'll put a conspiracy of silence against you if you make these arguments. That's why, if I made a video,
public enemy number one.
If I made a YouTube video about auto mechanics, I could get 30,000 views on my. But you put stuff on this, it's like, boy. So. Because it goes over like a lead balloon. But there's enough people starting to catch on that something's wrong, something's broken. NFP just seems weird to me, and they can't articulate it. And all they talk to are these NFP zombies walking around everywhere, like Scott Hahn and Christopher West and Lila Rose and basically everyone else out there, even Taylor Marshall. He blocked me.
Could you just briefly explain for the people who aren't fully aware what NFP is?
Well, yeah, NFP is a euphemism for using the procreative act to not procreate. So they call it natural. It's just like it's like selling junk food energy bars that say 100%.
Like the Democratic North Korea, right? The Democratic
hello, yes,
North Korea,
Democratic Republic, same thing. Freedom for everybody.
Freedom
Equal
fighters,
right. yeah. Antifa, anti-fascist. What are you talking about? Those guys are
as fascist as they come.
Have you ever met Antifa?
No,
they're gnarly, dude. They're so weird. They're like orcs, but skinny orcs. That's what they are. Now, so that's what natural family planning is. It's using the procreative act to not procreate.
Hey, what do you think about Cat Can's comment? Do you think there's any truth to that?
Hold on. What is he? Honestly, if everyone listened to John, it would have a butterfly effect the size of the whole maintain. Yes. All you have to do, like I said, hold that question. Don't forget that question. If you go back to the marriage contract, like we were saying, everything falls into place. People stay together till they're dead. They have 15 kids. It's going to be hard, but it'll work out.
And just to add on to that, so I say the same thing about proper true Catholicism, like some with the Novus Ordo, the Disney shows, and people receiving on the hand, and some of the loosey-goosey practicing that modern Catholics do. But by the book and the law, like if people properly practice our faith, it's like God gave us a perfect system to prosper.
I think it was a quote from St. Augustine. He was basically saying, look, you just do the nuts and bolts of marriage right, your happiness will be preserved. I could probably pull up the quote if we need, but that was from the other video.
So,
So
is that
yeah,
kind of why you were so hard on the women? Because men are okay with the nuts and bolts, but then maybe feelings or
not
emotions
all
kinda,
men, not all men, but
yeah, good point. Good
but-
point. Yeah.
but most can think logically, they can get rational about it. Not all. They can, but they don't want to, because we're all swimming in this feminism, and there's
Mhm.
so much politics. Are like, I know people who do NFP. My kids do NFP. So and so got an annulment. My son works at the JP2 Institute. We got to go with the flow, man. And my wife goes to this church, and yeah. So unless you have the eye of the tiger, you're going to go with the flow. All right. It's like,
Well, luckily, I got the eye of the tiger.
okay.
I got to get better at mass, though. Like you, when you're saying you kind of bulletproof to some of the stuff that just could be distracting. The sacrament's here. I'm here. We're doing the mass.
What's your day job? What's your day job?
We don't need to talk about that. But what does that have to do with anything?
You collect aluminum cans. It's cool. I understand. And then
yeah.
Well, because
they
you're
need to go up from
aluminum,
5 cents.
Because you're collecting aluminum cans, you can schedule daily mass. That's my point. So you can do daily mass, yeah. And then there's a lot of people who like me are the ZDEs and stuff, you know. But
oh, that's not a good thing. Well, hopefully you bring them back. Hopefully you bring them back.
They do what they do. They're kind of dyed in the wool. You do what you can. All right.
Yeah.
So, but I say there's no salvation in ZDE. There's no salvation in SSPX, because they've thrown the bishop out. So this is what it is. You can dance around all day long.
I actually wanted to ask you. So when this whole thing came upon, like, kind of fell on your lap, this whole NFP annulment thing,
right?
What stopped you, other than, I'm assuming, the Catholic's the one true holy church, from going to an SSP or becoming a ZDE or even Orthodox?
It's hard to find an anti-NFP place anywhere. But
oh really? Wow.
Oh yeah, because it's all politics. We got to feel for that. We got your NFP if you want. So hey, listen, like the apostle said, Jesus looked at them in John 6. You know, this is my body, my blood. You're gonna eat my body, and they're like, everyone's bailing. And then Jesus goes, so you're
gonna bail too? Yeah.
Later, guys. What do you want to do here? I'm not. And he's like, where else shall we go? There is no other place. I will say sometimes, like, if the Pope comes out smoking one of his Dejarum Turkish cigarettes with purple leather pants, so be it. I don't have to say I'm in union with that. I love that, dude. That's so cool. Hey, I was thinking about the readings this morning. Judas had the authority. Judas got sent out. He's part of so welcome to the Catholic Church, where human beings are involved, but the authority is real. Your bishop could be all kinds of weird, and every single bishop in the USA is heretical. They'll say,
oh, that's a hot take.
Guaranteed. No, hey, probably more ways than one, but they all say you can go to communion if you divorce. Every single one.
What? No, I've never heard of that.
Of course you can. That's why. That's why Pope Francis said, hey, you want to do adultery, you can go to communion too, because there's no such thing as objective sin. Remember, we talked about the contract. You owe me $5 at the end of the month. That's objective. We can define that. So no, you're not done.
Tom Baby's funny,
like,
Tommy.
You may have to turn off your media for a while, but
what did I just ask before that? That was a good question, though.
That was about communion for divorce. Yeah.
So maybe that's why I get a lot of grief, similar to you. People don't like some of my opinions on things. So I say stuff like that. No, and no wonder why they shout me down, because I'm like, what do you mean if you can't go up and receive communion if you're divorced? That's yes, like a no-brainer.
They'll say yes, you can.
That's wow. That's
I was gonna type in let me see, where is it? CCC 2384, because you know what the catechism says, right, about divorce?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Okay. Let me find it real quick here.
Yeah.
2384. Here we go, and I'll make it bigger. And then
I thought a divorce was a secular thing. I thought we either stayed married
Share
Rarely had an
screen.
annulment, or
Part 3, section 2 of the share. Now you get, yeah, there you go. Now let me focus, let me zoom in on a little bit more. Wait, hang on a sec. See if I can, let me see if I can make it any bigger. 2384. Here we go. So now can you hear? Okay. Divorce. There's a zillion things we could talk about, but this is kind of part of the tip of the spear. All right. Why you can't go to communion after divorce. All right. And why anyone who divorced cannot. Nobody who divorces can go to communion. Let's explain why. All right. Hey, some rich kid gave you $10, man.
no, that's
Defining things with her up front is like it kind of is moot when it comes to zero enforcement. Okay, there is enforcement. I'll get to that. When the church hands them out like candy, she can easily accept the term. All right, listen.
Yeah, we're gonna get there.
There is enforcement. There is enforcement to the contract. The enforcement is the ecclesiastical judgments, Canon Law 221, and there's other canons that say if she's not doing A, B, and C, you can take her to court, and they are to deny the sacraments. That is the enforcement. The state can put you in jail. The church can put you in hell. Now, ever since the Beatles, all you need is love. The church went along with that, and they don't do that anymore, as in the bishops don't, but it's in law now, and you should, and they must. But life goes on, and you got to get married, okay? So what you do, Mr. Chris, who gave the $10 comment, you find that Little House on the Prairie girl who is a reasonable risk, okay? Yeah, reasonable risk, Chris Davis. And then you get the terms up front. She has fear of God.
Like a gambler now, John.
Hey,
it's a reasonable risk I'm taking here. It's a reasonable.
Don't walk outside because manhole covers happen. Okay, so you can say, look, let's define what marriage is so we know what we're doing first. Like that road trip I talked about. You didn't know we're going to Nova Scotia. I thought you did. Oh well, I guess you didn't know. Too bad. No, we're going to talk about where, how, what ahead of time per the church, and how this is going to be a salvation issue. Are we nodding up and down with that? Are we on the same page with that, Susie? Yes? Okay, Bernadette, by the way, Joan of Arc, her annulment was fake, right? Because they killed her. So you can't trust the tribunal necessarily. That's a side topic. Number 2384, divorce is a grave offense against natural law. Any questions, Zealot?
No.
Okay. So divorce is there, like I say in my videos, there's two kinds of
grave
divorce.
Offense would be a mortal sin, yes.
Pretty basic, right? Right. So this is what we got to do in our contract. It says divorce is a grave offense against natural law, which means it cannot change. You violate nature. You're going to hell when you do that. That's why you can't take your divorce to heaven. But what is divorce anyway? You were talking about the state, right?
That's what, yeah, from my understanding, it wasn't a Catholic thing. It's a secular thing.
Okay, wrong. Because the state can have no fault divorce, or the state can, what if the state completely removed divorce? What if the state said there is no divorce and we will not allow you to separate either because the contract says you live together till death? The state of, let's just say California comes out tomorrow and says, no divorce, no separation, state law. Anyone who does this gets the death penalty. No divorce, no separation. What is the Catholic going to do with that when it's time to separate, David? What do?
They can't.
Okay, because the state says no. But what does the church teach? The church teaches, per Trent, you can separate, and it's in the Bible. It's the exception clause in Matthew 19:9. If there is adultery, if there is fornication, something gravely against nature, the marriage contract, you may separate, but you cannot remarry. That's where it comes from. That's where divorce court comes from, Matthew 19:9.
But from my understanding, that was allowed to the Jews, but we weren't allowed to divorce, even under adultery.
Okay, this is good. We're having me on so we can get this nailed down, because there's two kinds of divorce: divorce from bed and board and divorce from the bond, right? Groovy? Two kinds of divorce. Just like there's marriage is you're one flesh, but that doesn't mean you are literally twins and you can't move together. See, okay. You both wear the same pair of pants all day and the same shirt. That'd be one flesh, wouldn't it? We should do. We're one flesh union. Let's go dancing, and we'll both wear one pair of pants and one shirt because we're married. We're one flesh. Let's do it. It'll be so fun. Karaoke night, one flesh, one suit. No, move over to God, get a Devo suit, extra huge. Now you can
like it will be like Ike and Tina.
Who's that? I can
on karaoke. Ike and Tina Turner on karaoke.
God, yes. I was tempted to do karaoke when I went to Enoch's in Glendale recently, but I was like, I've done so much karaoke, I got worn out. Every accent. Now then, we were talking about divorce.
The catechism.
That Moses allowed them divorce because they kept knocking their wives off the cliff so they could get a new model because they knew marriage ended at death. Okay, so they just throw them off the cliff. Groovy. Now, Moses said, all right, you guys, since we have no grace going on, we'll allow you to divorce so you don't keep killing everybody. However, in the New Testament, Jesus says, no, we have grace. We're not going to do that no more for life. But you are a simp and you are wicked and you're a retard.
That was Matthew 11, right? Yeah.
Matthew 9:9. Matthew 9. And it's Proverbs 18:22. If you stay living with somebody who's not cool, you can't be a simp. If your Adam and Eve is going sideways, you're out, dude. You don't hang out and try to just go servant leadership, mutual submission. Whip me into submission, wife. No, you get her out. You have to do this. You have to man up. But I don't want to be alone. Too bad. It's time to get tough. Okay.
Well, no, I wouldn't, because I was under the impression when you're married. I do see what you're saying. You can't be a simp and allow that to happen. But what about the permanent?
You're married till death, like you're baptized till death, like you're a human being till death.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. I get you.
Your baptismal name doesn't go away.
I get
He's
you.
Your spouse till death. However, you must live under the same roof because you have the marital debt, conjugal rights. Now, per Matthew 19:9, if she commits adultery, you have the legal right to separate permanently. If she commits some other grave error, which falls under the heading of adultery, you still, like heresy or whatever, you still have the right to separate, but only temporarily. And then the bishop. Oh, by the way, beta male is what you're set up for if you get married under the JP2 model, because mutual submission and marriage is love.
How do you get married not under that model?
The contract I'm talking about, 1950. Go back to 1950, not 51, 1950. Anytime before that, marriage is permanence, exclusivity, procreation. And it's not open to procreation. It's oriented toward procreation, not oriented toward anything else. Family planning is oriented toward flesh. The horse and mule over which the devil hath power in Tobit.
I like that because orient and open is very different things.
But there's all the word salad, word play, word smithing, and it all sounds so good. I got to do this reaction video to the Thomistic Institute 101 guys. Boy, they have rapid fire slogan, weird, syrupy, slippery eel
euphemisms and stuff. I hate them. Drives me up a wall.
Crazy. Yeah. And then they have good music, and then they have a little emotion in there. And don't you just want to do?
It's like one example is like they don't have drug addicts anymore. They have substance abusers.
Right. Same idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I still call people bums and stewardesses and policemen.
Bums. I call bums. We call them bums in Boston. We got a lot of bums in Boston.
Phil Gonzalez. I'm very open to Muppets. I'd like to get a Muppet. I'm in the market for it. And the thrift store was closed today after I was coming home from Novus Ordo Disney Mass. But it opened at 11, and I'm sure there's going to be something I could get, and I could do my little do my puppet. I had a Yoda mask too.
Is there any reaching out or like helping the clergy with?
No. And the answer is no. Because
they're too lost in the sauce.
Yes, major politics. Now, the new guy at FSSP that I know, he's a true believer. He'll basically off the record let you know that this is correct, but he can't really go anywhere with it because the bishop They're on pins and needles.
Would that be disagreeing with the church
Correct?
in
It's
the
not
in the
yes.
political sense?
They have the ape of the church now. We have the spirit of Vatican II is now divine law. Did you get what I just said? The spirit of Vatican II is now treated as divine law. All these guys got together for a sales meeting and a feelings event at Vatican II, kind of like Charlie Kirk's funeral. And then they called this stuff law. Okay. But at the end of Vatican II, they got in at the end, the very end, I can't remember the name of the Lumen Gentium or whatever. They said, no, by the way, we never said Simon says. Paul VI says, this ain't binding unless we openly says it is. So that's what happened. Now, why don't we, well, I'm thinking about quickly go back to the screen about divorce, the 2384. You want to put that back up? Divorce is a grave offense against natural law. But what is divorce? Divorce is a separation of bed and board. That's the nature part, okay? The Christ and his church, one flesh stuff, that's the sign, okay? That's the icon, all right? So there's two, that's the bond. There's two kinds of divorce. Living together, bodies, that's nature. Hello, kids, your little kids, you change your diapers and stuff. That's like nature. That's you can put your hands on that. That's what you can't separate. That's the natural law. It claims, now this is important for the record, it claims to break the contract to live together. Okay. That's why divorce violates nature, because the contract to live together is natural law, involves nature. Like you have arms and legs and you're breathing. Okay. The right over the body for acts, that is nature. Now, someone who divorces lays claim to the contract. So if you and I have a contract, you're going to pay me $5 at the end of the month. And you, on the 15th of the month, you take that contract and you go to the no-fault debt court. And you say, this guy, John, he's a loudmouth and he never lets me talk on my own YouTube channel. And I feel violated. And I no longer need to pay this debt because it's no fault. Hang on a sec. I don't want to get distracted on that. I'll go back to cat cans in a minute. You can put it back on. So therefore, I'm going to get out of my contract. And that's what I'm going to do. I am laying claim to this, and I'm taking my solemn contract to the state. And the state is profane. So you cannot claim. That means take authority over.
Did you mean to say the opposite of sacred, profane?
I did not. The state is profane.
Yeah.
The state is profane and the church is sacred. So you're taking your sacred contract to the profane state. You cannot do that. You have no claim. That word claim is big. You have no claim over the contract. Nature. Once you get in an airplane to Chicago, you ain't getting out mid-flight. Not your decision. Sorry, get in your seat or we'll stun you. Those are your choices. So you don't get to jump out. You can jump out in spirit. You can jump out in theory. You can jump out in icon, so there's your one kind of divorce, bed and board, natural law. People do this all the time, and then they go to communion. And the reason why they say it's no longer a grave offense against natural law is because marriage is a significance. Marriage is love. And like we used in the example, if you don't owe me the $5 because you don't find it loving anymore, you're out. It's no fault. No fault. Divorce court is what your bishop must have, because there is no longer any fault in divorce. Everyone who gets divorced gets communion. It's no longer a grave offense against natural law. And when you bring this up to your priest, he'll say, I don't want to talk about this. We don't do this anymore. The bishop doesn't interpret it that way. You got to go. So then let's go. We're almost done with this. Now, the second half. Divorce does injury to the covenant of salvation. Now we're talking about divorce number 2. Not the nature part, but the significance part, the icon part, the covenant part, all right? The bond, the Christ and his church. Divorce does injury to the covenant of salvation, which the sacramental marriage is the sign. S-I-G-N, sign. That's what NFP is built on per Humanae Vitae 12 or 16 or whatever, 12. Sign. It's a significance. You know what, dude? You aren't nature, David. You're a significance. So if I cut you in half with my chainsaw, it's not a sin. I've just violated your significance. That's all. Okay? No problem. Well, you can heal. I'll heal. Well, I'll get an annulment. I'll make the murder go away because it wasn't really a murder in the first place because you weren't really a person. You were a significance. Okay? Divorce does injury to the covenant of salvation, which sacramental marriage is a sign. So those are your two. So when you say divorce, David, you must define what kind of divorce you're talking about. Divorce from bed and board or divorce from the bond. Matthew 19:9. Jesus allows, and Council of Trent Canon 8 says you may separate. And if you don't believe that, you're anathema. So you do get to separate, but you never get to break the bond till death. Annulments have goofed all of that up. I could keep going on that if we need to. Anyone want? I've done videos about.
Well, I was just wondering though, where do they get to allow communion? Because it says divorce is a grave offense, and then at the end,
so I just
you're in
explained it.
permanent
And I can
adultery.
explain it. Do you understand? Now do you understand the answer to your question?
No.
Okay.
If I'm reading this, I'm saying you can't. So how do
So-
they flip it?
David,
to you can?
you are a natural, normal dude, and it's no problem.
Nice.
Everyone
That's a good
is
thing,
like
right?
you. Everybody is like you. You're like
Oh,
normal.
that's not a
all
good thing then.
No, you're average guy. So I just explained it, and you're still like, what? Now, why can everyone today get a divorce and go to communion, whereas before 1965 they could not do that? That is the question, right?
Yeah.
Here's the answer. Because when you take marriage and make its primary purpose something other than procreation or what is objective, you destroy the objectivity, the object of marriage. You gut the legal definition. So like I said in the beginning, if $5 means a green bill based on the US government, $5 to me, but it means something different to you and your neighbor, then we no longer have an agreement. We thought we both agreed on what $5 was, but it turns out we don't. So,
Okay, now I get it. I just disagreed with it fundamentally. That's why I'm like, what do you?
right. So here's the other part I found out early. You can if you need to. Okay, so let's just say your spouse communicates with a golf club often, or they're Charles Manson or something, and they got a lot of money, and you've got 10 kids. You're the wife. Your husband's got a ton of money, and he's bad news, really bad news. What do? You can separate because you need to separate, but then what are the kids going to eat? Where are you going to live? You can use the state to back up your marriage contract because you need money. And he's going, oh yeah, I'm not going to pay anything. Not going to do it. So the bishop says, I will lay claim to your contract because I'm the ecclesiastical judge. Got it? Only the ecclesiastical judge can lay claim to that contract. Per Canon 12 of Trent, they're the ones who started it. They're when marriage went in house, when they had to make marriage public, the church. Only the bishop can lay claim to the contract, and he will say, you're right. I have heard your case. Your husband is Charles Manson. You are innocent of this. He owes you money. You may go to court and have the court give as much money as they can to you, Susie, because your husband is bad. However, if the bishop, who has the authority, the power to judge your separation case, says, actually, Susie, you're the one who's smoking crack in the backyard and lying about your husband. He's going to daily mass, doing everything he can to try to help, and you are causing all the trouble. So, no, if you divorce, you are going to be cut off from communion. You cannot divorce. You cannot separate. Because I'm the bishop, I am God in this case. I'm the ecclesiastical judge. No one can touch that contract except the bishop. This is why the Council of
that was before 19.
That's today.
So they can stop you from getting communed.
Correct. But they don't do it because the spirit of Vatican II is divine law in their brain. Okay.
Okay, yeah,
The
okay.
new
That I
religion.
get you. I get you.
Nature has no definition anymore. Hello, Bruce Jenner. Nature is whatever you feel, baby. That's nature, because marriage is an office of nature. Marriage is bound by nature. But if I think marriage is, if I feel charity, if I'm not like David right now, I think the way you're talking to me, you're making me do all the talking. I really think this is not love. This is abusive, the way you're talking to me. So I'm going to sue you for this. And the bishop is like, what? What are you talking about? No, but that's the way I feel. But you know what? If you don't give me the money, I think I'll take your kids and do weird stuff to them. And so, you know, what are you going to do, Dave? It's like when you've got your this is why all this people aren't getting married, because especially the guys are like, I'm going to submit myself to this contract with kids, money, and everything, and then you get to go take a TNT thing like Bugs Bunny and go badoom with it when you so feel, and get communion and get the house, the money, and the kids, and get a new spouse, and you want me to enter that contract? Forget it. I'm not going there. So when I propose to you, we're going to get the Catholic contract. We're not doing the Spirit of Vatican II contract, which everyone thinks is real. Everybody thinks it, because everyone has to have NFP, which takes objective marriage contract law and turns it into smoke machine.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, that's very insightful. I wasn't into the ins and outs of it, but I can kind of see the after effects of it from all these shattered marriages or divorces and annulments and stuff. So, could you share with us how annulments have spiked since this?
Yeah, so I think in the beginning, like 1900, there was like 4 annulments in the whole world, maybe something like that. You know, because people know what marriage. Okay, all you need to be able to, you need capacity, because you say, you know, I got the annulment because I was incapacity for the essential obligations of marriage. That's what all the annulments are based on. Lack of due discretion or incapacity. I didn't know what $5 was, or I was incapable of paying the $5. Okay, so I couldn't enter the contract. However, now they're saying $5 because it has no definition. Anybody can claim they didn't know what the $5 was, because what was in your brain for $5 was not in my brain. So we had no way of knowing. Just like you say we're going to Nova Scotia on a road trip, and I didn't know that. So we never consented. Okay, so no consent, no marriage. You had no consent. Now, then we had the divorces started ramping up, and people started saying marriage is a private matter. And that was like a Hollywood thing in the 30s and 40s, and more divorces started happening. Once you get contraception, you get divorced. That's why it started. So now you have all this political pressure in the church, and they're just like, you Protestants have contraception, we got a pill for that too. It's called NFP. Protestants have divorce, we got a pill for that too. It's called annulment. So the annulment laws changed like the day Ronald Reagan signed no fault divorce in. That's when the annulment changed, like 5 minutes later. Okay.
Do you know what year that was off the top of your head?
1970. Okay. It's called the.
Could I just ask before you keep going? So if a couple did the 1950s marriage contract, like you've been saying, proposed to the woman initially, right?
Yes.
And you get and she agrees, and you get married under that. Can that help you or make you prevent the new issue that everyone's having? Because you're like, we both knew what $5 was. That no one can get out of this. Is that
no? Because if let's just say your daily mass from 15 kids, Little House on the Prairie wife that you met, decides later, she starts getting a load of theology of the body and talks to her Nova Soto.
She has the new spirit divine on
her
side.
So she starts going, look, my husband thinks that he wears the pants. That's not equal partnership right there. Therefore, the marriage is invalid.
What kind of Catholic marriage is when the man doesn't wear the pants?
What diocese? Hey, David, what diocese are you in?
Boston.
Fine. Your judicial vicar, your bishop, right now will say, if the husband thinks he wears the pants, he cannot consent to marriage. The marriage is invalid.
I'm gonna check. That'd be
guaranteed.
Insane.
Mark, you can quote me on that.
So I've heard a priest or two make I'll call them feminist jokes because they're jokes towards the wives and benefit of the wives as opposed to the husband. And
Yeah.
I don't appreciate those jokes because I'm like, you should be bigging up the men, helping the men be more.
Yes.
But that would make sense under what you're
That's
saying.
where
That would
mutual
make sense.
submission. Women are equal to men. You've heard this line: women have the same dignity as men. You've heard that before? They don't. Women
I've
have
never heard that, and
That's
I'm
what
not
Trent
buying
Horn
it.
when he tried to
I'm not
pin down
buying that,
David.
John.
What?
I'm not buying that.
No, women have a different dignity. Nobody says that, but it's true. And it's St. Thomas Aquinas says that, and Cornelius a Lapide, and there's other saints, because women were the first to sin. Excuse me. Yeah, they were second in creation and the first to sin. Their dignity is less. Men were the first in creation. They were not the first to sin. So she has a lower dignity, just like a king has a higher dignity than a queen, or a duke or a jack or whatever. So does it mean in nature, though, they're equal, as in St. Thomas Aquinas parses this. If you really want to get technical, you got to read him, but that's it in a nutshell. Now, if everything is equal, you cannot have marital debt. You cannot have marriage because he's got to be the head. But if there is no head, then everything falls apart. You have no more law, which is why you have to have smoke machine as the marriage contract. Defining things with her up front is like kind of smooth. Was where we already saw that one.
Yeah, I was just going.
Okay, so you were saying where did the annulments come from? Right quick, it started to ramp up, and then in the 60s, once the spirit of Vatican II came in there, and those guys want gay marriage, so you have to make something other than procreation as primary. Otherwise, you can't be homo, right? Because it violates nature.
What a mess.
Then you also we want contraception, and we want divorce.
Can I just ask, how does a sin such as homosexuality get its day in court, if you will?
How does it get its day in court? What do you mean? Where?
Like with the church, their homosexual marriages, isn't that like no? That's clearly a sin. We can't be having gay marriages.
Yeah. So like I said, like Dave, you're thinking like a normal person. That's the problem. You got to realize right now,
that logic always gets in my way.
All these guys, all of them think like that marriage develops. St. Thomas Aquinas had his view, his approach.
Oh, gee,
and then Augustine had his view and his approach, but we have a different view, and our approach is this. And
that
it's
sounds
developed
like moral relativism.
Yeah, so it goes on and on and on but nature don't change. That at any rate, because once this is why the Birth Control Commission spent 5 years figuring out whether contraception was wrong or not, because if they legalize NFP, you have to legalize contraception, because you're saying that marriage
church.
Yeah, because if nature is not procreation, then
what's wrong with contraception, right? Yeah.
Nothing. The answer is nothing, which is why the vast majority of the Birth Control Commission says let them do AFP if they can do NFP, and that the Pope said no. And it took them years to figure that out. Everyone's like, I'm following my conscience, because obviously, if I don't have to have kids, if I don't need to, and love is number one. Anyway, back to the annulments.
So are you saying they can do NFP but not contraception currently?
No Catholic can go to heaven and do NFP today.
Did you hear that, you trad cads on YouTube teaching those?
Because you are taking the natural purpose and you are changing it. No one's allowed to change nature. That's a grave offense. That's a flavor of onanism. NFP is contraception because it is contra having babies. It's a different method. Like I use that analogy, you can, if you don't want to go to school, you can sleep in or you can shoot the bus. Either way, you don't have to go to school.
Yeah.
So just one way is natural and one way is, not.
Yeah,
so
it's like the pull and pray method's the same as using a condom. You're trying not to impregnate somebody.
Yeah. So, okay. So, but right now, because the spirit of Vatican II is the divine law of Vatican II in the minds of all the bishops, you can use NFP, but you can't use contraception. Therefore, everyone, like okay, you've done exercise routines and stuff before, David, but you didn't do them perfectly because some days you just weren't in the mood or you just weren't having it.
I don't know. I got some pretty good form, John. If nothing
Okay,
else in life, I do some good exercise.
that's good for you. But there are times when you were like, nah, I was up till 3 a.m. I'm not
Oh,
doing it in the morning.
yeah,
You know,
100%,
stuff like that. Everyone has stuff. So every family is going to have something where they're like, we can't have another kid right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep going through the motions with no babies. And we're going to call that nature. No, but so they don't talk about nature anymore. Not to digress too much, to finish up that annulment thing. Then in the 60s, you had, for the first time at Vatican II, they called it they called it compact of conjugal love. So now, and it says in Gaudium 50, I believe, in a very gaslighty, demonic way, it says, surely marriage is not instituted only for procreation, which is very similar to what the devil asked Eve in the garden. Surely God didn't tell you not to eat of this tree, of this fruit, right? He didn't. Did he say you shouldn't do that? Didn't, because you'll be as God. So the devil comes in and like puts the doubt in her mind. Now, natural Selah planning. You guys don't plan.
What's Selah? I keep talking
Selah
about it. I
cast,
don't even know
bro.
what it is.
No, Selah cast is like the premier, eminent, money-making, grifting YouTube channel that has a video every night. And all they do is talk about, all Selah cast does is talk about their ministry, and they want to make money. And it's all about the money, and you got to go check them out. But they have hand puppets.
Grifting for God's been a popular
Selah
thing in the last
cast,
couple of
they're
years,
the
huh?
biggest grifters this side of the Pecos. And that's saying something because they're in Boston too.
Get out! I got some grifters around here.
Join
One thing
the
we
Selah
don't
side.
like grifters in the Zealots Den. We don't like grifters.
Oh man. So Selah is a word in the Bible which means to pause and reflect. Okay. So actually, no, I'm just joking. They basically pillory anyone who does Catholic grifting, and they just put them on their show, and it's so
Pillory
if you go
in
to
a bad way.
No, well, they just kind of make fun of everyone who talks about their ministry and trying to make money and stuff. And they do kind of waste time, and they joke a lot. And it's basically a lot of like,
well, they got a new subscriber now, Tar Baby Yoda.
Crazy anime stuff. But you can go on there anytime. But just be ready to get your brain scrambled if you dare go into the podcast. Now, we were talking about briefly. So Spirit of Vatican II comes in, and Gaudium 50 says, yes, did you really, were you really told that marriage was instituted for procreation alone? Is that what you were told? No, of course not. You're not just a baby factory. This is not just increase and multiply. You're a human being with dignity, infinite dignity. And we can't treat you like just a slave to make babies, because Christ loved his church. And so therefore, marriage is not just for procreation. It's for love, because love's in the Bible and God is love. Therefore, we're not making it up. Okay, so now you can switch, just like a little switch. You can turn your fan on or off. You can turn your wife to procreation or something else. You flick the switch on her, man, but she's not a prostitute. No. But you can use her for babies, or you can use her for something else. But she's not a prostitute. Oh, really? That's what St. Augustine calls her in Casti Connubii. And she calls the father-in-law a pimp, and she calls the husband a paramour, because you're just using the act to not get pregnant. Now, so in the 60s, in 1965, they pulled the plug on the good guy, whoever it was at the Vatican. The old guy was making sense, and all the liberals went in there and
Benedict?
No, dude. Whoever that 80-year-old guy who was really good at Vatican II stood up and said, look, this is the real thing. This is the Catholic Church. And they pulled the mic on him and started laughing at him. That was the end of him at Vatican II. I can't remember his name, Ottaviani or something. Then the hippies took over. Okay. It's a huge snow job. It's this Rose Sweet hour. Rose Sweet apparently is doing something with the Terry and Jesse show group or something. I got to get into that. I've heard about that down in California. Rose Sweet She's bad news, man. Now, so what I was going to say was Vatican
Striking
II.
annulment. Spirit of
Yeah.
Vatican II came in.
Now, once you start saying that marriage, which is an office of nature, includes a particle of love, okay, yes, Rose Sweet was married 4 times. Now I can't keep up with this. So anyway, once you start saying that again, that $5 I owe you at the end of the month, once we allow any subjectivity to the definition of $5, it's whatever you say it is.
Yeah, I know.
And
I'm
I
with
hold
you.
my hand out for the $5, and you're like, "Oh, here's a piece of broccoli." Oh, well, I'm sorry, that's my love language. And in marriage is not just this. It's not just for money; it's for something else. So we have to, the love of money is the root of all evil, and the blah 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 blah. And I heard a sermon about it, and so the theology of money said this. Now, so you are now spiritualizing, making supernatural that which is natural, which is why we have something called theology of the body. It should just be called biology of the body, because that's all it is. So once you add supernature into nature and nature becomes infinite, like God, everything's off. So the annulments, the people at the Roman Rota, right in 1965, immediately started ramping up the annulments. Immediately, because they said, look, love is in the air, love is in the contract, love is nature, love is required. There's no love here. This marriage is invalid because no one can. They were incapable. All you need capacity. This is the other thing on your marriage contract when you do the proposal. All she needs to be capable of is the baby making act. That's it. That's the only capacity you need. Can you do that? It's valid because the purpose is procreation. Therefore, you're going to have kids.
What if she refused?
Refused what?
She could have a kid, but she's refusing to have.
Okay, so she's violating the contract, which means
so then you'd be due for the annulment, even in the old ways.
No. Every marriage is till death. But you can, back to CCC 2384, can separate. If your spouse is saying, you can take your marital debt and shove it, then you separate, because you're a king. You're not putting up with this stuff. No. And it's Proverbs 16:11 or 18:11, and there's one other place in the Bible I can't remember right now, but they both say, no simping allowed. You blow the thing out of the water if she is not honoring the contract.
So you should be able to get an annulment then, but you're saying you can't?
Wrong. Because when you say I do, it's till death. And what do you say I do to? The contract terms. You also say I do to some promises, but those aren't legal, okay? Like love, that's not legal. But you say I do to the contract. If you and I agree to, you're going to pay me $5 on the 30th, and then you decide that, or somebody starts getting weird, you're like, I'm just going to annul the contract. You can't get an annulment because it's...
But what I'm saying is because the whole thing is to procreate and have babies. So if a guy marries a woman under the pretenses they'll have babies, and then she's like, no, you're not getting any out of me.
Okay, then that would be a sin. She's violating the contract. However, if she premeditated before the vows, hey, guess what, Jill? I'm not going to have any kids with this guy. I know I'm going to say those words, but let's write this down together. Let's take a video. I don't mean him. I'm not having any kids. The marriage is invalid. There's no contract. There's no consent.
Okay, great. Yeah. That's what I was
But saying. If nobody does that. Everyone goes in there saying, yes, permanence, yes, babies, yes, exclusivity. Everyone knows what cheating is. Everyone knows where babies come from. Not really a mystery, So you have to know where they come from. That's what you have to have in your brain. Can I figure that out? Do they come from the stork or not? I need to make sure I know that answer. If I can figure that out, now that's a high bar, okay? But if I can figure out where these babies come from, and I think I can figure if I have the capacity to do the thing where it makes them, if I can do that, I can consent to marriage. This is why this is why they had 4 annulments in the whole world in 1900, because people might marry their cousin, or people might lie about impotence first or something like that. But everyone basically knew, okay? It's really, really basic, all right?
We need to get back to basic and everyone knowing, John.
Okay, so a lot of people are trying, like, who is that guy? John Clark, who does the Betrayed Without a Kiss book. He blocked me too, because he's saying, oh, we need to get back to procreation primary again. Yeah, procreation primary means nothing if NFP is legal. Means nothing, because you are saying marriage has no primary purpose. Marriage is love or life, whichever you decide it is. Therefore, nothing is primary, because you have to have both together, which means you have to owe me the $5 and you have to pay me the $5 at the same time, and it can't happen. It's like one has to be primary. Primary is independent. Secondary is dependent. Marriage exists if you're capable of procreation. It does not depend on the quality of procreation. It does not depend on how much love is in the room or in the air or any of that stuff. But now they're saying the definition of ever since Vatican II, and the new code, the definition of consummation has been legally changed. What did someone say? What did someone say about Goofy Mug? Can you put that back?
It's an
Jamie
inside
thinks
joke.
it's Goofy Mug for pleasing. All right, whatever. So, consummation. The marriage is consummated. You know what that means, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finish it.
Yeah. No, you don't know what it means anymore, because the new spirit of Vatican II said consummation means it doesn't necessarily, it's not biology only anymore, David. To legally consummate your marriage, you must do it good. Because it's right there in canon law.
Good.
You must do it in a, you used to be able to just physically complete the conjugal act. That's called consummation, because that's the object of consent. The new object of consent is the total gift of self. So you have to consummate your whole self, David. So when you pay me that $5 at the end of the month, I gotta
give you my wallet.
No, you got to give me, you have to put it in my hand in a deeply meaningful way with your whole heart. And if you can't do that, you can't enter a contract with me, and that $5 doesn't work. Your whole, I need a payback, a wholehearted payback. You have to give it to me in a human manner. That's the words they use, in a modo human manner. You must consummate your marriage in a human manner, and that means infinite dignity, respect. Which is not legal language. It's goo. It's smoke machine, freaky. It's the cover of a romance novel in law. Okay. So
are you overall just trying to inform people of this and try to get them to do proper marriage?
We have civilizational collapse. If you cannot define marriage, you have no civilization, and it's going to look like Escape from New York eventually. So we have, like in when the Visigoths were running around smashing you with a mace back in Europe in 452, whatever the heck, everyone retreated to where St. Ignatius was, to the monasteries, to build culture. And now you had Europe. Okay, right? That's what happened. We have to go back to what marriage is.
I didn't know that. Actually, that's a super interesting story if that's how it happened.
You didn't know what?
When the Visigoths invaded, everyone went to hide in monasteries, and
right.
that's how
So
they
Catholic Europe was born through Ignatius and other monks like that, who started civilization amongst the Walmart population of the Vikings and the Druids and the crazy freaking whack jobs worshiping stuff. Okay, look, it's bird poop. Let's worship it. Okay, and let's kill somebody who doesn't worship it with us. You know what I mean? So we had to go back to Lombards, there's a ton of it. So the saints started Catholic Europe, and that grew and grew and grew because people liked justice, they liked charity, they liked fairness, instead of brutal, brief, short lives of terror out there in the field, man. So we have to do the same thing with marriage. The internet is great because we can get there. You have to stop entering marriage contracts of Vatican II smoke, because you're jumping off a cliff into legal zero. And
well, the best way to be that, for the men to know, and then to men to just almost demand for like only settle for
You
women who are
don't enter a
kind of
contract that you can't enforce, that you can't
right. That's what
define.
I'm saying. Yeah, but to know and to be able to
Yeah,
follow
so
through with that is
the man is the guy's the one who's providing, so he's got to propose. So you don't propose something that you can't define. Hey, how about I give you you fill in the blank? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give you a blank check.
I like how you said that though, because a lot of maybe younger people, even in my generation, you got married because that's what people did, not for like, but they you didn't have
knew what
this.
marriage was. All the priests knew, the judge knew, the people knew, everybody knew. Today, everybody is in the twilight zone.
Yeah,
Everyone you know is in the twilight zone because they think a particle of love to a greater or lesser degree is in the legal contract, which means all objectivity is out the window, which means that contract means whatever you want at any time. That's why it's no fault. Now, to finish with the annulments, then in the 60s, that started with the Rota. They started granting more. Then in, like, I think right around 1969, everyone in Amsterdam was going, I'm going to come back to that, Lena, in a minute. Everyone in Amsterdam was going nuts with these annulments. The American annulment started in Amsterdam, and the right now, so Cardinal Burke was the head of the Signatura, but back in the 70s, it was Cardinal Staffa. So he goes over to Amsterdam and he goes, all right, you guys, knock this off. None of this love is in the air, annulment, basis, annulments. This is not Catholic. You can't do it. It's in writing. I got all the comments. What did they do? They basically said, yeah, see you later. We don't care. And they keep on doing it. Just like communion in the hand got started over there and they keep on doing it. Then 6 months later, it all jumps over to the United States and they start something called the American Procedural Norms, which streamline all the annulments because we have no fault divorce. So we got to have no fault annulments to go with it. We have to have, we have to now say the exception clause in Matthew 19:9 was for invalid marriage. It's not for separation. It's for invalid marriage. Therefore, there's no such thing as fault-based separation anymore, which is why divorce is not a sin. And we set up these American procedural norms so we don't do we only need one judgment on the annulment, and the annulments increased 21,000% in the USA. That's a
21,000%. Did you say?
Yes. Now think about this, David. What you pay for up in Boston? You're paying just under $5 a gallon for gas, right?
Yep.
What if that gas
under $4?
Okay. What if that it's under $4?
Yeah. It's like
In
$3.88.
Seattle, I thought you guys were communists. In Seattle, Seattle is just under $5 right now, because Trump's trying to build more refineries or whatever. What if the gas price increased 21,000% in the next month?
I wouldn't be able to afford that.
What would the price be?
Oh, over $100,000 a gallon.
That would be significant. Very significant change. We had stable gas prices, so to speak, with annulments since 33 AD. Okay, since the time when when the church took marriage in house, we had stable annulments, stable gas prices. Then they went up 21,000% in the USA in the 70s and 80s. So what was so 386 annulments to the 80,000.
I don't want to sidetrack you, but I think you might be onto something with this point here, because that's like the top of the pyramid and everything flows from that. So if you're breaking up the house and the dad or the man is the leader, then the kids are going to be messes. The women are going to be messes. The men are going to have nothing to provide or fight for.
The men commit suicide.
And then everything's, I see what you're saying here, John.
Unleashes a torrent of evil, because if you owe me that $5, but then you start redefining $5, then you and I become Hatfields and McCoys. And now you murder my sister, and then I burn your house. Now our reconciliation chances are like nothing. And then you have kids and I have kids and everyone fighting. The devil moves in and he just says, you know what? Let's just annul that $5 contract and we'll work on our healing. All that healing annulment business, all that is about is divorce guilt. You have divorce guilt, just like you're guilty for not paying me the $5 and you know it in your conscience. So you get the annulment, and they're saying, oh, I will, or I murdered you on the street, but now we're just going to call you a non-human. Therefore, it wasn't really murder anyway. So I feel good now. And I go to communion. That's all that's going on. So these right now there's if you were to call a tribunal and ask them to define marriage, they could not do it. They would say, oh, it's good to the spouses, but it's
when
impossible.
you say tribunal, could you just clarify what do you mean by that?
Every courtroom is a tribunal. A small claims court in the civil is a tribunal. Tribunal, this means judge, courtroom. So the church is a civilization. The church does not need the state to survive. So the church, all divorce courts, by the way, are supposed to be on church property. You have to. You changed
even secular ones?
No. In other words, divorce is a separation. We have to realize that we do not depend on the state for our.
Oh yeah, I agree. Amen. Yes.
Catholics don't. That's the stupidest thing. The bishop will say you need a civil divorce before you can get an annulment. Absolutely not. No, that's heresy. Only the bishop can touch the contract. So he says, oh, really? Get the state to do it because Martin Luther told me it was cool. He cannot do that. No, it's right there in Arcanum 23. It's in Casti Connubii 78 and other places, which is why Third Council of Baltimore, Decree 126 from 1883 says, if you separate without the bishop's permission, that's grave sin. If you take your separation to the court, okay? By the way, let's just say you do separate. Let's just say you're married and you're totally innocent. You're just the greatest spouse in the world, and your spouse is terrible. And so you separate because you can't handle it. You are a public adult or public abandoner, David. If you initiate separation on your own because you have to live together, but your spouse is Dracula, your spouse is a monster, your spouse is demonically possessed and is poisoning the kids. So you take the kids and leave. You are a public abandoner, and you cannot go to communion because you're a public abandoner. Because the law is you have to live with each other per the contract. Now, but you're saying I'm innocent. I didn't do anything. I can't live like this, and I shouldn't live like this. Correct. Canon Law 1152. You must, within 6 months, David, go to the bishop's office and get the separation decree started, because only the ecclesiastical judge can touch the contract, and it's a public contract. You're not living with your spouse, and she's telling the whole world that you're an abuser, and you know the truth. So get it to court, ecclesiastical court, not divorce court, church court.
And then you won't be a public abandoner anymore if you do that.
Yeah, because you go to court and you're like, okay, here I am, and let's prove to me that I'm this complete abuser who can't be lived with, and she doesn't even show up because she knows she's totally lying. So the bishop will say, okay, yes, you have a separation decree. We heard the case. You're innocent, no problem. But if you just bail and you physically move to Florida for years because, like, your wife, quote, kicks you out, she drives you out of the house, you can't handle it, then you are an abandoner. You are the publicly guilty spouse because she's honoring her vows. As far as the public knows, she's at home taking care of the 9 kids, and you're out drinking all night, and that's all nobody knows. The church judges. So you know all this, you learn all this, you get all this, and then you propose marriage. Do you want to sign my marriage contract? What are the terms? Well, what does the church say the terms are? Well, marriage is love because God is love. Sorry, no. Let's get real. Let's go back. Let's use our brains. Let's use the internet. Let's figure out what are the terms before the annulment revolution, which took marriage and threw it in a blender and then put it in a smoke machine, and it went all over the place. There's nothing. You got nothing. And they added love to it. All you're doing, like I said, you've taken the biology of nature and turned it supernatural. You've added supernature to nature, and it becomes a hybrid creature of weirdness, kind of like Christopher West.
That no one can control, and you can't control it. No,
he's a hybrid creature of weirdness, Christopher West, because Christopher West says you need to spiritualize your body. spiritualize your love. And dude, divinize. Oh yes,
Divinize.
here's another big lie. Here's another huge lie. The conjugal act is a reinstitution of your marriage vows. It's a redoing. No, it's not at all. No, conjugal act, because if your marriage vows are love, but they're your marriage contract. No, the conjugal act it's basically fornication unless you excuse it with procreational intent. So it's St. Thomas Aquinas. So it's the conjugal act is just creating more hellspawn unless you do it in marriage. Okay, so it needs to be excused with procreation. It's not something that it has nothing to do with marriage. It's not a reinstitution of marriage vows or a restatement of your marriage vows. But if your marriage vows are love, then you have to have consent every time. That's why the marriage debt is dead if NFP is legal. Did that make sense to you?
Yeah, I actually caught.
No debt.
I actually caught all that time. Yeah,
I'm glad. Yeah. So this is why you don't hear much about the marriage debt anymore. And if you bring up the marriage debt, they'll say, "Oh, well, no, marriage, you have to be unitive." And unitive has no definition. No, it just means really what unitive is the wife's feelings equals unitive. So she wears the pants. That's why all these marriages are matriarchies. That's why all these trad marriages are matriarchies, because they say NFP is legal, which means you must have a legal receptacle for your NFP, which is called euphemistically unity. So if it has to be unitive, then marital debt is rape. There's never been anything known as marital rape ever until after Vatican II. Did not exist in the planet, because marriage is consent. You have to have if you have consent, you can't have rape. You can have violence, you can have force, you can have sin, but you can't have rape.
There's actually a couple, Andrew and Rachel Wilson. They debate people, and that's one of the reasons that I've actually heard that because they're married, and when he debates feminists and stuff, he says, "So if I wake my wife up with and just stick my stuff in her mouth, and is that rape?" And then they're always like, "Yeah, because she wasn't." And then the wife's like, "We're married. What do you mean my husband's like it?" So that's actually funny that you said that.
I've tried to debate him. He won't talk to me. That guy.
Really?
No.
He even banned you?
No, he didn't ban me. I asked him questions about Eastern Orthodoxy and stuff, and he's like, "No, can't go there."
Yeah.
And I asked him about rights in marriage. Marriage has no rights, according to that guy.
Mm-hmm.
There's no rights. There's just obligations, but there's no rights, because they have no church. They can't back up their stuff, and they can't define, because he's like Timothy Gordon. He's part feminist too. He will say it's not just for procreation, because marriage is got some love in there. Because when you start adding love into the contract, you cannot define it. Therefore, there is no right. I have a right to my $5 payment, but if $5 has no legal definition, I don't have anything. So if the object of consent that you consent to in marriage has no legal definition, you didn't consent to anything. So when you assert your marital debt, and St. Thomas Aquinas says when you demand it, that's what he says. If you demand the debt, you got nothing in the spirit of Vatican II, because love is in the contract. So she counters with love. Or in her case, if he doesn't want to have kids and she does, he could just say, "I don't think this is love. I'm working super hard. I this, I that, I don't want, and this isn't love, and you need to love. So you need to respect me and my dignity, and stop using me as just somebody to produce kids and pay for them. So I need you to love me in this way." And so she's like, "I guess I will go listen to my Christopher West. I'll go to the Blessed Sacrament, and I'll try to love you through celibacy for another 2 or 5 years, or whatever the heck. Or we'll just do NFP and treat each other like horse and mule. Like we'll just, it's basic. That's all contraception is." And then the marriage goes down in circles, because you're reinventing marriage, and you're objectifying people, and then you're using them. Christopher West always says this: you can't use other people. And what he's trying to say is no marital debt. It has to be love. Actually, when you legalize NFP, you're just using other people. You're using them for what you get out of them, which is there's only 2 purposes for the conjugal act: babies or pleasure. Whatever, that's it. You can dress it up, and you can call it bonding. You can call it profound whatever the heck you want. That's all it is.
And I'm sure people do. And I'm sure
So that's right. It's all euphemism. So when, like we said, the Deutsche Democratic Republic is just a communist hell. Okay. So when the, like I said, in the Old Testament, when Tobit was with Sarah, and all Sarah's husbands died, stuff, because they weren't after procreation. They were after just the flesh. And in the Bible there, it says they are like the horse and mule over which the devil hath power. If you use NFP, the devil hath power over you because you're pursuing what the horse and mule were. In fact, saints have said that you're lower than the beasts because you're using nature to do something unnatural. Even they don't do that. Okay. Then that's one of the places where we get procreation primary is from Tobit 8:6 or something, where it says, not for fleshly lust do I take Sarah to wife, but for procreation alone. And then the Council of Trent says, for this purpose, the sole purpose. The Roman Catechism calls procreation the sole purpose of the institution. Okay. And I have to develop this point. And in the Bible, it says, for this reason, for this cause, man shall leave his husband and father and mother and cleave to his wife, right? For this cause. What cause is that?
Procreation.
You get a gold star. That's right. But it's not that. It's not. They don't talk about that anymore. They don't. No one goes there. They'll say, well, the cause is just some kind of like love bond thing. One flesh union. You've heard that roll off the tongue of so many people. One flesh union. All that means is like, I'm trying to work on my soulmate connection. Maybe if we speak each other's love language.
Yeah.
We need our one flesh union going on. And this is not, it's like, okay, it's not like that, dude. It's like you and I can do this podcast, but we don't have to get along as the best friends in the entire planet to do this podcast because good fences make good neighbors. I don't have to borrow your clothes tonight. Okay. Just, hey man, hey, you're here.
But if you need it, I'll mail it over to you.
No, it's like, dude. So marriage has boundaries and it has rules and it has a contract and it has fences, you might say. When you get all that straight, everything falls into place. The guy's going to do anything for her because it's natural. She's having the kids. Of course. But when she wants to go feminist and start wearing the pants, which is inevitable when you start putting NFP in the mix.
No real guy would want that.
Then he's pulling teeth. Now he's killing himself. And so half of the stuff. And now there are exceptions to these rules, which is why some people don't separate and all that. But statistically, about half of it's not going to work. The divorce law changed in Kentucky recently. Now it's automatic 50-50 custody, and divorces dropped by 25% overnight in Kentucky because they changed the law.
They gave the guys a little more
50-50. Yeah. So that's just a start. The point is that the reason why all these annulments exploded is not bad catechesis. It's not nothing like that. It's all law change. The word essential, like in COVID happened, they said only essential stores can be open. Guess who gets to define essential? The governor.
Exactly. Yeah.
My porn shop, my this, my that, that's essential. My Nike store, that's essential. Church, not essential. Now, who gets to define essential? God, nature. That's who defines essential. In marriage, the essential obligations, the essential rights, duties is defined by God and nature, divine law. It's in Scripture. No pope gets to change the essence. No pope gets to change the definition of what is essential. That shoebox containing what's essential is in stone. It's in nature. Cannot move. Procreation.
Hey, that's something that we'd agree with the Protestants on. So we'd agree.
Yeah,
that's what Protestants think
exactly right. That's why
everything.
people say I'm kind of.
That's what he thinks the Pope does everything. Yeah.
What they do, though, the Protestants start wiggling all over the place on the Bible. They'll say, yeah, the exception clause is for adultery. Therefore, if someone commits adultery, they don't differentiate between two kinds of divorce, from the bond and from living together, because divorce is all one big thing to them, because they have no church to govern. So,
in your view, you can't even get married if you're not Catholic because you need the church to. Is that how?
No. Okay. Two Zoroastrians can get married in the park. Okay. Two Protestants can get married in the park if they're baptized. It's a sacrament. Okay.
Oh, okay. I
They're
have
not
heard
going to
that.
heaven anyway, so it doesn't matter whether they get married in the church or not, because they're, they don't have to, they're not obligated to obey the bishop because they're out, dude. It's like somebody who lives across town doesn't need to make my bed because they're not here living here. It's not their thing. Okay. So, but a Catholic, if you're baptized Catholic, that's it. You cannot get married out of the church. If you're baptized Catholic and you leave the faith the next day, you're Catholic for life. You will never get married except in the church. And Pope Benedict, I think in 2008, changed the rule where you can't write him a letter and get out. No more of that because it was getting abused to the max. So there's that. Okay, so we're coming in on 2 hours. I can keep going. We got some more questions, or some of the comments. We skipped over some of the comments. Maybe we can look at some of those.
Yeah, I can give you a few of those. Maybe like 10 or 15 minutes. Hopefully,
Go ahead.
I can maybe have you back because there is a lot to cover. But I do have to get going at some point.
Yeah, because it's late for you, man.
Yeah. Well, one question I had from a buddy who watches some of your stuff. Are all annulments after Vatican II null and void, or
no,
how
they're
do you
fine.
view
They're
that?
not. No, just the vast majority. I call them McNullments. Yeah,
that's good.
So,
that's good.
Yeah, so they're based on. That's the short. They're based on. This is why it's hard to pin down because every abortion is immoral, but every annulment is not. If they're based on Canon 1095, 2 or 3, which is incapacity or due discretion, then let me make it very simple. If you had kids, your marriage is valid. Got it? Meaning you had capacity for marriage because you knew where babies came from, presumably, and you had the capacity to make them, obviously. This is why that procreation alone is primary, because you can't make kids and then call the marriage invalid because now the kids are like orphans, okay? It messes them up bad. That's why the only thing you need to be able to do or know is make babies to get married. So if your marriage annulment was based on Canon 1095 incapacity, but you had kids, it's fake. It's error. I have a video about that called An Easy Way to Tell If Your Marriage is Invalid, If Your Annulment is Real. That simple. Was it 1095? Did you have kids? Equals error of annulment. So you're still married to that first person. However, publicly, the church can bind and loose. So publicly, you're not. Okay. So let's say you get let's say you get a McNullment, then you get remarried. You are, in the eyes of the church and then the public, married to this new person. But if you follow your conscience and really think about it, you're still married to that other person, but you have a public contract to this new person.
That'd be an awkward conversation to go back and be like,
"Oh
hey,
yeah.
We're still married. We got to work this out." Yeah.
This is why the annulments cause people to go to hell, because they know on a level, yeah, I was really married to that first person, but I don't want to go there because talk about a messy situation. I'm already like down the road with this new person, house, kids, blah, blah.
Yep.
I don't want to follow my conscience. That's going to be a problem.
I know anecdotally a few people, it's growing in numbers, the more people who they despise the Catholic Church because they have been married, got divorced, remarried, and then try to enter the church and they get rejected for like adultery, whatever the stipulations are. And so that's why I was under the impression they are still a little strict on like receiving communion if you're divorced and stuff.
No, it's got to be all or nothing. Just like fault-based divorce has got to go to no fault if NFP is legal, and they're not strict at all on this no communion thing, because there's no, if Vatican II is divine law, which it's not, there is no legal basis to withhold communion from anybody who divorces. And FSSP and everybody else has to be careful about the bishop so they don't die on this hill. They're taught at the FSSP seminary in Denton that NFP is okay, and they're not taught that you have to have your bishop's permission to divorce, because that makes no sense, because the marriage contract is smoke machine jello. There's nothing to find. Like, if you're not paying me the $5, well, $5 can mean and signify a lot of different things, so we have no idea. it's just a big mess, and we just pray for David and John that they'll work out their differences. But there's nothing, I can't call the cops because they can't define $5 because nobody does anymore, because that's just not what Vatican II says. So,
can you explain that $5 in modern terms? So I understand originally, like we owe money and it's got to be paid on certain dates or whatever. But nowadays with marriage, how does that analogy work? You can just give whatever they want, and if
so the marriage contract to live with the permanent gay marriage is not the problem; it's permanence. All marriage law, by the way, the 6th precept of the church is honor the marriage laws, follow the marriage laws. That's out the window. It's shoved under the, they look at the catechism today, it has 5. There is no more marriage law. Marriage is lawless today because love cannot be defined legally, and NFP requires legal love. So when you, let's just say you've been married for 10 years and things hit the rocks. Okay. And you're like, marital debt, or we have all these kids, or we can't get, they're like, oh, actually, I don't think the marriage is valid, because if marriage is love and we're not feeling the love, somebody doesn't have capacity for love. Therefore, you were never had capacity, so you can't consent to marriage. Boom. So all this, you have to love your spouse, you have to honor your vows, you have to have kids, you have to do marital debt. Those are all nice theories and stuff, but they only apply to valid marriages. And you see, David, our marriage is not valid because it's not working. And Matthew 19:9 says you can never divorce except for in the New American Bible, they call it that's why you have to go to the Douay Rheims. Have to go to the Douay Rheims.
I got one right here, brother.
Good.
You like the Douay Rheims?
Yeah, it's the only one you can read because it's the only one that's accurate. Okay, and you can read the commentary. Good for you.
The only thing is it's backwards, man. Like the sentence structure, it's backwards.
Oh, I don't know. You know what? I don't even own a physical Bible. I just do everything online. But I was saying,
do you read Douay Rheims when you do that?
Only, yeah. But I read them all. But when you want to actually find out what it says, you got to go to Douay Rheims, because so much stuff has been changed, airbrushed, goofed up, wasted, smoked. You can't. The other Bibles are dangerous. So Matthew 19:9 doesn't say for fornication you can separate. It says if the marriage is unlawful, you can divorce, which is what everyone says. Oh, there's no love, therefore it's not a legally consented to marriage, therefore I can divorce, and that's it. And I know divorce is bad, and that's the other thing. God hates divorce is not a Catholic statement. God hates divorce is Protestant. The Bible, the Douay Rheims says, when you hate your spouse, you divorce them. That's what it says. So there's always a fault. Whoever divorces is at fault. Just like I said, when you separate, you are publicly at fault until you get, you're guilty until proven otherwise when you separate. Now, so that's what the Protestants do. They come up with a new definition of Matthew 19:9, and I'm sorry, this is what the new Catholics do. It's not valid. So all separation is just whatever. Okay, yeah, when there's no love in the room, we can divorce is BS. Everybody knows that, but it's in practice real. Anybody listening to me now who's married can go to the local Novus Ordo, local ordinary, and get an annulment. Everyone who can hear me who doesn't
just like that. Just like going and buying something nuggets.
If you get denied, you go to the next diocese or you redouble your efforts. So you can, a dumb question, was SSPX still in Sacramento? I don't know. You got to be careful. You start going out of the church to get married, you're not validly married. And then when things hit the rocks, they can go to the bishop.
I know a cousin of mine who went to have their spouse get an annulment so they could get married.
Yeah.
But they couldn't. They did have a child with that other person, so that's probably why, maybe. But they stopped trying because they said they were just throwing money after money after money, and they weren't making any progress. I don't think they should get an annulment myself, but I just found because you're saying you could go get one. And I said I know someone.
Yeah, annulment is on. Annulment can be hard, but it's on demand. So if everyone doesn't have like the perfect childhood growing up, and nobody does, and if they didn't get along or something, if there were some marriage problems in the relationship at somewhere along the line, which everyone has, because Christ, marriage is for the new sign is Christ loving the church, right? So if somebody isn't capable of Christ-like love, if you're not capable, you can't consent to it. Okay. If you can't pay me the $5, you can't enter the agreement with me because you don't have the horsepower. Okay. Or $1 million or something. So I don't know what they were married in the church. They got a few kids and now they want an annulment. Is that what one of them wants an annulment? Is that what's going on?
No, they married someone who was in a previous marriage, left that person, but had a kid with them.
Okay. So they're trying to get that marriage annulled, right?
So they could get married in
All
the
right.
Catholic
So the reason
Church.
they can't get it is probably because they can't get to the information because it's too fuzzy, it's too weird. Somebody's not coughing it up. Okay. So unless they can prove it, like I said, if you get married, but
so you still need at least a monicum of proof these days.
You have to be able to prove something. So some annulments are denied because they can't prove it or whatever. But if you get married in the church and things don't work out, you'll get your annulment. You will. And if you're there are divorce ideologues at the Catholic Tribunal. That's what they do. Just like if you get near Planned Parenthood, they're going to take the baby out of you and kill it. That's what they do. If you accidentally lean against the door of the tribunal and fall in, your wedding ring's coming off. That's what they do. That's what they know. They all have blood in their hands. They are a machine. They're enemies of marriage. That is the phrase used in Casti Connubii to describe them in 78. Enemies of marriage because they separate the contract from the sacrament, which is exactly what CC 2384 says you can't do. It is violating of nature. So they start saying, hey, like I said, Dave, or you owe me that $5. That's only if we had a lawful contract. But actually, I didn't know what $5 was, so I don't really have to pay you because I didn't know. So it's like, really? You came into Walmart to buy some stuff and you don't know what it is, so you get the free stuff.
yeah.
That's how stupid it is. And they're the church and the state incentivize divorce and marriage because the state gives you cash and prizes. Maybe not in Kentucky as much anymore, but you get cash and prizes. You get your power back or whatever, and then it's a temporary relief or something. And then, because you're thinking, most girls they're thinking about the next move, right? Of course. So the church gives you communion. The church gives you communion. Yeah. And they celebrate your healing. So you get communion and a new spouse. What could be better? You have this, you've like what happens in any relationship, you get to the bottom of the ego, as Archbishop Fulton Sheen would say. By the way, I don't like the title of that book, 3 to Get Married. That's a dumb title. Even though it was made in 1952. When you get to the bottom of your ego, it's called charity time. You know what, man? You and I have been living together for 7 years, and I can't deal. There's no more emotion left for you. None.
I'm sick of seeing your face. Yeah.
It's called welcome to your salvation.
Amen.
It's called your cross, which is a scandal. Come down off the cross. You deserve to be happy. You don't deserve this. Marriage is love. Get an annulment. Get a separation. He's a jerk. No. So this is why you have to. So by the way, there's one other thing I haven't mentioned yet. All divorces used to be on church property. You didn't know that. Before the Beatles, all divorces for Catholics.
Good. You get married in front of the church, you should get divorced in front of the church. Yeah.
Separated.
Separated. Yeah.
Separation court. Divorce from bed and board. They're called separation courts. If you look them up, Chicago was really big. Everyone had a separation court. So when anytime someone needed to separate, that's exactly what they did. They wanted to lay claim to their contract. You take it to the separation court and they hear the case. So you got to find out if somebody is good or bad or whatever, naughty or nice. And then they're the ones who judge. I forgot where I was going with that, but
that's that's fine. If you don't mind, can we get ready to wrap it up though?
I'm ready. Unless there's some other comments to look at real quick.
Do you see any?
I thought you had a bunch of. There were some comments that I didn't really read. You could stick them back up there.
I was starring. Well, I only started a couple. We went through those.
Okay, all right, that's no problem.
Yeah. So, I do got a hot seat. If you'd answer a couple quick yes or no rapid fire questions, just to end it. But I did like how you said that right there. That's why I figured it's a good way to end it, because you were talking about people in marriage getting sick of each other, and you said that's your salvation right there. That's your cross. Pick it up and bear it, as opposed to trying to come down. That was very well
Yeah.
said.
So if I take you and start hammering nails in your hands, you're gonna find if I give you an out, you are going to take it, bro.
Yes, 100%.
It's called communion and annulment, and you'll take it. And that's the problem. But if you know you can't do that, you are going to get real sincere on asking for grace, which is available, which is what Jesus did in the Garden of Gethsemane. Okay.
Amen.
He didn't have a
Amen.
lawyer hanging, or a canon lawyer saying, hey, man, this isn't real. We can get you out of this. No, no, no. Why we got to get the contract first in the start? All right. What's the question? You got a question or two?
Yeah. Well, it's just like 10 or so.
All right,
It's,
fine. Hey,
it's,
that's
it's
cool.
the hot seat. It's
Yeah.
just the fun. Everyone loves it. It's rapid fire. It's usually yes or no or short answers.
Got it. I can do
but
that.
yeah,
I'm cool with that.
Just for editing purposes, John, let's get you into the hot seat. Who came first, Abraham or Jesus?
Abraham. Oh,
I got him. I finally got someone.
I blew
I've
it.
been waiting to get someone with that one.
Woo!
Do you believe in ghosts?
Yes.
What is love?
Willing the good of the other.
Classic. Can sinners become saints?
Yes.
Name a favorite saint.
Saint Joan of Arc. John
Very
Vianney.
nice. Can a person lose their salvation?
Yes.
Women altar servers, yay or nay?
Are you kidding? No.
Do chickens have lips?
No.
Did Jesus have any biological siblings?
No.
Is Catholicism a works-based salvation?
Yes.
Team Israel or Team Palestine?
Palestine.
Are you zealous for God?
Yes.
What's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of God?
The church.
Oh, that's a good one. Are you your brother's keeper?
Yes.
Name a favorite cartoon from your childhood.
Deputy Dog.
What? That brought me back. Holy smokes. Do Muslims worship the same God as Christians?
Oh, Muslims worship Satan.
And last but not least, did you have fun here in the Zealous Den, John?
No, I'm depressed more than before. I don't know what I'm gonna have. I don't know what kind of therapy I'm gonna have, but you know what? I'm still in St. Michael's Lent, so it's gonna be tough. I'll pray my way out of it. That's my only thing I can do.
Hey, maybe I'll give you that $5 you've been asking for this whole stream,
Please.
and maybe we'll be even.
A consolation prize, I'll take it. All right.
But hey, John, thanks for the charity of your time. Everyone go check him out. Everything he's been talking about tonight, he has a bunch of videos on, more in depth and stuff. It is important to talk about and go over. And God willing, he'll come visit us in not
sure,
too
that'd
long
be cool.
time.
And like I said, yeah, anyone wants to reach me, I am the easiest guy to find, and I'll talk whatever you need. All right, done.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your time.
Peace
God
out.
bless.
Cheers. God bless.
Thank you.